you doing? I'm Dave and that's Glenn, and in this episode of the NC Beer Buzz, we're on historic Franklin Street in Chapel Hill, Glenn's old stomping grounds, to talk to Thomas Transue, who is the head brewer of the Carolina Brewery. Let's see what he's got in his mind about beer.
So Thomas, tell us a little bit about Carolina Brewery.
Well, we're here in the Chapel Hill location.
Yep.
Started in 1995, so we're just past our 17-year mark, and this is the original location. Been here for a while, and Robert Poitras and Chris Rice opened this up after taking a tour around Europe, different breweries all over Europe, and came back and realized there wasn't a real strong beer scene, craft brew scene in Chapel Hill. And at that time back in 95, not much in North Carolina either. So they opened this up, still going strong here 17 years later. And as a result of our demand and pushing outside of just the restaurant into other restaurants, markets with our growlers, we opened up a production facility, which is also a brew pub in Pittsburgh.
Right.
And that is now coming up on its 5th year.
And you just upgraded a little bit? You got more tanks in?
Upgraded quite a bit. Just installed 6 new 60-barrel tanks. And we've got a lot of room to fill in those tanks, but it's quite a production, and that was just this Thursday. We've been working on getting the expansion since the beginning of the year.
Is that going to mean more different beers or more of the beers you traditionally have produced?
Just more of the beers that we've traditionally produced. There is always the chance that, once we get settled into the new tanks, that we'll be able to step back and do some of the specialty brews that we've done in the past. But our focus lately has been on distribution and getting the beers to market.
Let's talk about distribution since you mentioned that. Mm-hmm. Where can we get your beer other than here in Pittsburgh?
Well, almost all across the state. We just recently got into Asheville at Tupelo Honey. You can get us all the way out to the coast. And about a month ago, we signed a deal with Beeler, and that is down in Charleston. So you can get beer down all the way to Charleston.
That's great. That's great.
So, we cover the state. We're working on completely maxing out the state as soon as we can, pushing westward. But our recent push was to the coast and get all our beer out there, specifically our canned beer.
And that brings up a lot of the breweries are either just growlers as the smaller ones, and some of them deal with bottles. You're with cans. How do you feel about that? Is it more efficient that way? I mean, it seems like that's what you strive for.
Yeah. Well, the change has been from canned beer being the domestics until there's been this big push, especially in the last 8-10 years of craft beer in cans. And I mean, there's a number of reasons why I think cans are better. But the practical side is, if you're out at the beach, you're up in the mountains, you can't take glass to a lot of places. Aluminum, it's lighter, it's like 95% recyclable, and it also keeps all the light out. So it's the best way we feel to preserve the product that we make and get it out there, and really have the option of taking it more places than you could a traditional 6-pack or even a growler.
And how did Thomas become involved in this operation? Tell us a little bit about you.
Oh, let's see. Well, I've been here since 2003. That puts me coming into my 9th year here. And I moved up here specifically to work part-time in the brewery. And at that point, I was just scrubbing growlers, scrubbing kegs, washing floors, and moved here with the intention of staying here, and been here ever since and worked my way up. After about 1.5 years, I guess 2 years working here, got into full-time, and now with the opening of our Pittsburgh location, I've had the opportunity to be running the brewing operations here.
I saw one of the nice things is that you have a stand inside the Durham Bulls Athletic Park. Mm-hmm. So you have a presence there, and you also have a beer specifically for them, the Bullpen.
Yeah, it was a great thing. That's one of our latest beers that we've created, and our director of brewing, John Connolly, sat us all down, and we had the idea to make something that was specifically paired with the Durham Bulls, and wanted something that was different, not just a replacement for a light domestic, but something that was really unique and showed off the craft side of us, and also made it something very approachable to anybody that wanted to drink. So he had the idea to make a pale ale, and it's his recipe, and what's wonderful about it is we're able to take a different approach than a lot of other, make our pale ale unique to us.
Right.
And, that's a really big category from pale ales to IPAs, and that's the fun of it, is being able to sit down and go back and forth as brewers and talk with John and kind of get some feedback. And he was really receptive getting our feedback about it. But, we brought it out, and it's been incredibly well received. We're lucky that the Durham Bulls were so willing and open to getting this kind of creative input from a craft brewer.
Yeah, great, good. Were you a brewer before by experience, a home brewer? Or how did you get to be
I guess we'll call it home brewing. Yeah, if I could time capsule that first beer, I'd probably be spitting it out right now. But, that's the experiential thing about it. At the time it tasted great, and that's kind of what led me into it. Me and my roommate were bottling that first batch of beer that I made, which was a porter. And of course, like with everything, when you're bottling it, you kind of got to drink something while you're at it. And I had a bottle of Highland Oatmeal Porter in my hand. And I thought, this is kind of fun. We'll see. I was in business school at the time at UNC Asheville, and had to create an internship. So I literally flipped open the phone book and found their number, called them up, and happened to speak to the head brewer there, John Lyda, and got him on the phone. I said, would you like an intern? And so, yeah, I went down for an interview, which consisted of a tour and a beer in my hand, and really just had a blast walking around with John. And he said, come on in, we'll put you in grunt work. And I was doing whatever. I mean, aside from my internship, which was preventative maintenance, I just bugged them. Bugged them completely. I didn't have anything else to do. I was in school, so I mean, it was really fascinating. I didn't have anything to do with the brewing there, but I was just the grunt monkey, and absolutely loved it. And when I got done with the internship, I went back, I graduated and went back to the job I'd had at the time, and then heard the opening here and jumped at the chance. So, they really got me, they planted the seed for the just passion of, everything's hands-on, and I still wash kegs and I still wash growlers, in addition to everything else, but it's still something I love to do. And I don't do much home brewing. I haven't done any home brewing, as a matter of fact.
Why would you, right, when you got this to do?
Now, do you still kind of, there's seasonal beers that come out, do you still kind of experiment and maybe look at trends and play, what if we did this? Do you play with it as much, or you kind of stick with your staple beers?
We stick with our staple beers, but where we're able to play is the introduction of our casks. We're about, maybe 8-9 months in for casks. So both myself and the head brewer in Pittsburgh will do casks every month. And that's where we get to play with our base, our base beer, and then bring that out,
And what's the most unique thing you've done in a cask?
I would say the oatmeal porter, and I played around with chipotle. I took our oatmeal porter and played around with chipotle peppers with it.
Okay, and how did you think?
I thought it was fantastic. It was really well received. It's that spicy, smoky, and especially with the chipotle peppers being that smoked jalapeno, it really adds that twist to it and makes it nice and got enough heat. But like everything, some people say it's not spicy enough, and some people say it's way too hot.
And that's everybody's taste.
Yeah, but I had a lot of fun with it. I got to play around with how hot did I want to make it, and experimented for a little while before we actually put it in the cask. But I do look forward to our casks every month. It's something that I'm able to play around with, and I think that now people are realizing that's something that we have, we bring out every month, and there's a lot of excitement for it.
That's great.
So,
before we leave, this will probably be the last question, but we want to get you on record about what do you think about the trends in North Carolina with all the craft beer movement? Where's this thing going? Is there room for everybody? How do you perceive it?
Well, you'd think that there wouldn't be room for everybody, especially in Asheville, but now with 3 major West Coast breweries setting up operations, I think it's a long time coming that not only the Asheville scene, but in the larger part, the North Carolina scene is really just up and coming. There's a lot of other places that, you know, get more, maybe a little bit more press, but you know, we are, I believe it's now 50 microbreweries, you know, 50 craft breweries in the state, and it's going up, and I think there's always room.
Always room.
You know, there's, everybody's got their own different style, and that's what's fun about being a brewer, is you're not stuck into too tight of a category. You can, you know, you can put your twist on everything,
Sure.
from a pale ale to a golden ale, and you know, it's going to taste different. And you know, everybody makes some great beers, and I think the North Carolina beer scene is only growing because there's so many good craft beers around. You know, the ones that don't make good product don't last very long.
Right.
And what's great is that we've been able, you know, you look at all the breweries that have been around for as long as they have been, all these guys are making great beer.
Sure.
And it's going to keep growing.
Great. Thomas, we appreciate you being with us today.
Well, thank you for coming out. It's been a pleasure.
Again, we've been at the Carolina Brewery in Chapel Hill with Thomas Transue, the head brewer here. We appreciate him being with us. Remember, drink local, keep your beer dollars in North Carolina. And until next time, we'll catch you later, buds.